What's going on, everybody? Today I'm starting my book, my life story. Okay, I'm gonna start it in video form so you guys can see me and hear me. So it's a video, but also this is gonna be the speech. When I start, it's gonna be the book, exactly what I'm gonna be writing, pretty much in the chapters. Okay, so it starts off like this. Chapter 1. I come from humble beginnings. Okay, my name's Eddie. I come from a family from Toronto, mother and father, Ed and Diana. Okay, my mom was from the East End beaches and my dad was from Scarborough. My dad was a East End butcher and an entrepreneur, self-made businessman, and my mom was a gemologist. She was a jeweler. It was a family business of my grandmother and grandfather's. Now, we started family businesses because we didn't want to have to work for anybody else, and our family is just like that. Our families are go-getters. We were never rich. We were never wealthy of any sort. We were very, very poor, and we come from very humble beginnings, and I'll explain that in a minute. So, when I said my mom's a jeweler and my grandmother owned a jewelry store, that's true. But by the time I was 9 years old, my grandmother was murdered and the killer got found not guilty. So that really, really messed up my mother and myself. What happened is the jewelry store had to be shut down because obviously there's no one there to run it, and it was just too depressing. Customers going to come in and asking about my mom all the time, asking about my grandma. Plus, my mom had to go to trial and spend like a year, you know, going to trial and everything like that, which I spent with my grandma and my dad and stuff like that. My dad's side of the family, grandmother. Um, so I spent a lot of time over there at Grandma Fraser's, and basically what that is all about is my dad would pick me up every other weekend, and me and my dad were very close. He taught me pretty much everything, renovations, how to run the business, the butcher store, all of it, from top to bottom, from sweeping to running the business like him, to depositing his bank stuff, to doing it all for him. Eventually, after the murder and after the killer gets found not guilty and my family goes into depression, I, I get severe depression, my mom gets severe depression, I get severe anxiety. It is a car accident, head on collision with me and my father. A guy crosses over on Highway 48 on a double solid line, 16 years old, without a G2, without a G license. He only had a G1, which is a permit, a 1 year G1 permit where you're supposed to drive with a licensed driver at all times, and you're not supposed to drive on 400 series highways, which he was on Highway 48. Um, so it's not a 400 series highway, but I don't believe he should have been on the highway if he wasn't with a licensed driver, which is he didn't have anyone in the car with him. The guy that hit us, he was about 16. He ended up passing away on impact. Me and my father, I was in the passenger seat. My dad turned the car as best as he could, put his arm there to try to save me, and I just remember seeing the big lights flashing in my eyes and the crash. And we went flying off the highway, airborne, into the farm field, and it was pretty far off. And my dad's arm was out the window when he was driving, and so somehow his arm got pinned underneath the car. It was upside down. His seat broke off. Basically, I had to kick the car window out to get out, and I was only 9 years old. I had to run as fast as I could up to the highway. It was quite a bit. It was quite a few minutes to run up to the highway and flag down a person that could call 911 so the ambulance could come there and get my dad out. We kept thinking the car might blow up. My dad kept saying, car might blow up. Get me out. But we didn't know he was quadriplegic at that moment. We thought his legs were broken. He said, my legs are broken. I can't get out myself. I can't move. And I was so small, I couldn't pull my dad out. He was like 260 pounds. And I was like 9 years old. Wasn't strong enough to pull him out. My dad had three friends with him that were all adults in the back seat. It was a Grand Prix, 1996 Grand Prix. It was that year, 1996. And so what happened was the the car had to be cut open with the jaws of life, and that's what the firefighters use when they cut open a car and they can't get somebody out. And my dad's teeth were all chipped, like there's glass everywhere. I fractured my eye, my cheekbone, fractured my cheekbone, had a lot of glass and stuff in my eye. A lot of damage was to my head and my eye. Um, I had to take antibiotics. I didn't stay in the hospital. It wasn't as bad as my dad. My dad had to spend long time, years in the hospital. First, just on life support, ICU. He had a halo on, which screws into your head so your neck can't move because he also had a broken neck and his spine was severed, paralyzed, quadriplegic. Okay, so he couldn't open his hands. That's how he was a quad, right? He could lift up his arms and stuff and drive his little wheelchair, but he can't open his hands. He can't lift it, it'll fall. He can go like this, though, right? So me and my dad were very close. I'm just going to give you some details about him. So, when he became a quadriplegic, I ended up doing a lot of severe renovations for him throughout his business process. And he couldn't do it himself, which he taught me everything he knew and more or less used me as his arms and legs. And so, I would even go to the casino with him. Basically, I was him, and he would just come and follow me everywhere, and I would do everything that he wanted me to do. And I would sit there and make all his bets at Casino Rama, and it was just like I wasn't even living my own life. I was like living the life of my dad, and it was just strange because it was just like he's always like I'm named after him, right? So he's just like you're gonna be me, you're me. He's like cloning me to be him. Anyway, long story short, they give him oxycontin, so 100 oxy 80s and 100 oxy 40s every month. You can just imagine. By the time I was 12 years old, I was trying to get rid of those for him. And my dad's passed away now, so he can't get in any trouble. Um, but yeah, that was a lot. By the time I was 12 years old, I was smoking weed and selling dime bags of weed, introducing weed to the grade 7s and 8s at my school that didn't know about it. No one knew about it. What it was except me, so I introduced them all these different prices and ranges and stuff. And my friends were all in high school. My best friend Mike and everybody, they're all in high school. So I would skip school, go to the high school and hang out. Da da da. Long story short, by grade 8, I get kicked out of school. I had been suspended a lot of times, but I had never been kicked out. So this time I finally get kicked out. So now I can just go hang out at the high school every day and sit at the Burger King and sell dime bags and sell weed every day. Anyway, worked my way up from like a half ounce of weed to like a quarter pound, and then that went on to a half pound. And then me and Mike started splitting a pound, right? So a half pound for me, 8 ounces. We actually had a real cool dude that used to spot us, and he didn't give us like the greatest deals. We were actually paying out the ass because it was on spot. So 700 a QP, so we give him $1,400 for a half pound, and we would make a killing off of it pretty much. You can make 2,800 easily off of a half pound. Um, Okay, 28, 28 is 56, and then 112 grams is a quarter pound, so 224 grams is a half pound. And if you sell each gram for $10 a gram, or $40 half quarters, $80 quarters, then you can end up with 2,200 and $2,224 or something, $2,240, something like that. So that's what was going on when I was 12 years old. Okay, I didn't want to do it. I just seen all the other kids with money, and I thought to myself, this would be a good way to make money. I didn't think it was like something that was very bad. I'd see movies like Belly, and me and my friends would be like, learn how to put the weed in the bags first, then get money. And the thing is like this: we would need to buy new CDs, new 5950 hats, new clothes. This is when FUBU and Lugs was out. I used to wear FUBU and Lugs and all that. And jerseys and stuff, and you know you want to look cool like everybody else, and your parents are poor and they can't get you everything, and like you're gonna be maybe the dude that gets something on like Christmas or your birthday. So like for your birthday you get like a pair of new shoes for school or something for the year, you know? That's like over $100, $120. That was a lot of money for my mom to have to buy, you know? She couldn't just go out and buy me now five hoodies and 10 pairs of jeans and CDs and everything I wanted. So I'd have to put the most thing I wanted for Christmas or my birthday and really, really hope that my mom would get that for me. And 90% of the time, she would get what I wanted. I'd ask for something for Christmas, and because for the rest of the year I wouldn't really get much, she would get it for me. And she was always great like that. She worked really hard. My mom was a single mother who worked hard even through her depression after her mother was killed. She, tried to pull in there. um, I did move frequently. My mom did date often. I'm just gonna say that, and so I did move around quite often, in different environments and different houses and stuff like that, all over the city, all over York region. Um, my dad never knew where he was gonna come pick me up every other weekend. You know, he was actually driving me home on a weekend when we got in the car accident, and so now my mom starts getting into heavy drinking and smoking weed with her boyfriends and stuff like that, and she's always gone after work with her boyfriends. So my friends start staying over at the house, and we start having girls over and partying and stuff like that. And now I go into high school, and basically, uh, start robbing dudes for their chains, doing all kinds of crazy things, getting very violent now. And now I end up in a place called TIAC, Toronto Youth Assessment Center. They dubbed us the Red Hat Crew, and then next thing you know, they're trying to make headlines and this and that and stories about us. And I think there was even some sort of book or novel or documentary or something like that. Can't remember, but actually, I do remember. Just not gonna say it in the first chapter or the second chapter, so that's gonna be held off for later on in the book, probably towards the end. I'm gonna bring up that documentary slash movie that we were in when we were young teenagers, the Red Hat Crew, whatever. Okay, so basically LTF, loyalty to family. I got my first tattoo 12 years old. Mike got his on his arm right here. I got LTF right here. I never covered it up. I got this when I was 12 years old. I don't know if you can see it. And then also when I was 12 years old, the same day was this thing, little thing. I don't know if anyone can see this or what. But, let me see. Whoa, that's weird. This camera's kind of strange. But anyways, oh no, that's not it. It's this side. Okay, so that's the side right there. That's what I got when I was 12 years old. The red around it is when I was 15. So that's just, it was a good luck blessing from uh, they're Vietnamese, right? Cambodian and Vietnamese. A good luck blessing at Jane and Eddie Stone. Um, Mike's girlfriend Angel, her great grandfather, he lived in the co-op, and I got tons of friends at Eddie Stone. Shout out to the homies. Shout out to the Eddie Stone. Um, Shout out to the big homie there, and Z. There's all kinds of homies there, and I'm really close with them and everything like that. So basically, my older cousin Jay was also very, very close with them, and me and him were like this. Me and him were basically almost like the same person. Like we were together 24/7, inseparable. And his wife Krista would drive us around and stuff like that. When Jay was around, things were going properly and everything. Things were going good. And every time I'd come back from jail, I'd be embraced by the crew and stuff like that. I had my little crew of dudes, and Jay had his little crew of dudes. And I'd come to the house, and they'd all be like happy and yo, Eddie's home, Eddie's back, and all yelling and screaming, having fun, like excited that I'm home. And then a lot of times you get out and you're just wearing the same old thing. And if you're in for a long period of time and you get out, you don't automatically have an apartment. I wasn't the type. I don't live with my parents and whatnot. I lived on my own since I was 15 years old. I lived in a crack house, 15 years old, selling crack at a trap house. My baby mama's dad, he was a crackhead, and his friend owned a house, and it turned into a crack house with like 9 rooms for rent. And I had one of the rooms on the upstairs, the main floor, and the basement, where all the fiends were. Me and my homies had the upstairs. My boy Howdy, he rented the other upstairs room, and then my other friend Al rented the other room. And then they had like her dad and his buddy that owned the house each had their own room in the basement. They rented to this dude named Steve W. and then Mark H. I'm not gonna say their last names. I'm just saying the first initial, and uh, Linda, and just all kinds of people. Mad Max, bunch of weird people, bunch of fiends, alcoholic junkies, and alcoholic crackheads. Okay, so that's how it went. And when I was about a little older, when I started like really getting kicked out of school, like when I got kicked out of high school for good because I was snatching dudes' gold chains and stuff, and this big dealer named Niall Johnson, he ratted me out for ripping his gold chain off his neck and taking his uh, wallet out of his pocket and the money allegedly and his drugs. Now, this all happened and whatever when I was a youth and this and that allegedly. I don't know if the case got thrown out eventually or what, but I had to spend a lot of time in there. Like it was crazy. I spent a lot of time in Tayak trying to deal with that charge, and when you're trying to pretend you're this biggest drug dealer in the school, and you're this gangster with two different earrings, and you got the baggy jeans, and you're just being this dude, and everyone's coming to you to get their stuff and everything. You'd think this guy's like living by like the code or whatever, right? And we're all like about that life. Like we hate snitches, like snitches get stitches type shit, right? I hated them so much that I went and did a huge bit. And friggin' the whole time I'm thinking I'm gonna come out and crush this dude when I come out. So I did about maybe I think it was like 20 months, and then I came out and I went and did it again, and yeah, went right back. But you know what? I proved the whole point of you can't think you're gonna rat someone out and get away with it, and then think, oh well, he's not gonna do nothing because he'll think I'll rat on him again, or he can't do nothing because I'll just rat on him again. Well, it doesn't work that way. Some dudes don't give a fuck, and they'll come and end your life. You know what I'm saying? Some dudes still live by that code, and so I put dude in a coma. All right, I sat there and drank all my Heineken beers, and every single one of them when they were gone, clackoom on the top of his head after he was already knocked out from me punching him out. He's knocked out cold on the front lawn, and yeah, well, we'll leave it at that because this same dude that I robbed and I was already on bail for, this dude that I'm talking about, ended up showing up to my house when I was having a party. I didn't put him in a coma when I originally robbed him. Okay, when I originally robbed him, he ratted me out and I got charged, but I come out on bail. I was only a youth. Well, because of what happened to him going in a coma, that was a breach of bail. So I went back in, couldn't get back out. All right, so that leaves you at Toronto Youth Assessment Center. Now, Toronto Youth Assessment Center, TIAC, I can compare it to what in the USA, if you're from the USA, you hear stories about Florida and different places in the US that have like hardcore youth jails called JIT camps. Well, this is like that, but without an open dorm area. This is like basically like any other jail would be with bars. And exactly like the Don jail, long bars, long hallways with like a strip of cells. Okay, so that's how it is. Tayak was brutal because the showers were right in the front, and there was like a blind spot there, and there was a thing called SARS going on when I was in Tayak at one point. The SARS came on. Oh my god. Okay, when I first went in for like a week and then got bail, it wasn't going on. But then when I first went back in, it was crazy. It was like where They were only letting guys out for shower programs. So it was sort of like running like this pen called the Shoe, where they stay locked up 23 hours a day, 23 and 1, where they think it's 23 and 1, but it's not. It's actually 23 and a half hour lockdown because they let you out twice a day for 20 minutes. Okay, so you get out once in like the afternoon or whatever. You have 20 minutes to make a phone call and a shower. There's only like three phones. You got all these dudes on the range. They let half the range out, but that's still way too many dudes. And then they let the other half out after. But then later on, they do the same thing. So one time when you're let out for 20 minutes, you got to make sure you get in the line and get in the shower. And then the next time, you got to make sure you get in the phone, or vice versa. You know how hard that is for some people? Like, they talk on a phone for 20 minutes, or they want to talk on the phone 20 minutes to their girlfriend, then they hang up and they want to call back for another 20 minutes. And then that's wasting other dudes' time. And fights would break out over the phone. Dudes would freaking smash each other with the phone. Dudes would wrap the phone cord around other guys' necks when they're sitting there talking on the phone. They just grab the phone off him, wrap around his neck, and choke him out. Like, I've seen crazy stuff. I seen in the Don, or not the Don. I seen in Tayak dudes shit in the hot chocolate. Not seen it literally with my eyes. Them shitting out. You know, I didn't see them defecating go in the bathroom, but I know 100% that they shit in the hot chocolate because it was jugs that they would bring around, and you'd have your cup or your, if you had a bottle from canteen, a bottle, and little styrofoam cups. And so what happens is the shit in the hot chocolate, it's in a jug, so dudes would make it, mix it up, and then send it over to the PC unit. And because the PC unit has PC written on all their jugs, they knew exactly which ones to do it to. The guys in the kitchen, would let some dude slip inside there without them noticing, and some stuff would go down. But anyway, they would piss in their juice, in their lemonade or whatever, man. They used to do real bad shit. I seen them have problems with COs. They would throw shit bombs, um, like where they would save up all their piss and shit. It's kind of disgusting, but they would wait until they walk by and then throw it out the hatch at them, try to get them as best as they can. Um, yeah, man, I've seen it. I've seen a lot of weird stuff. The first guy I seen when I went in there smiles. He's got all gold teeth. He goes, "Yeah, I'm G. I'm in here for murder. What are you here for?" And I told him, assault cause bodily harm, assault with a weapon, and robbery. And I was like, alright. So basically, Tayak, Toronto Youth Assessment Center, was known to be one of the worst youth jails in Ontario. One of the worst youth jails. It got shut down because it was so bad. Dudes would come to court. I don't think anyone went to court without a black eye, just put it that way. Even guys that knew how to throw hands, even guys that knew how to fight, were getting in fights. And still, you don't get, not, when you get in a fight, you got to at least get hit a few times. You don't go into a fight and never get hit the whole time. And if you say you've won every fight you've ever been in, you're a liar. And if you say that you've never been beat up and you've fought a million times and like won every single fight, I'm gonna have a hard time believing you. Because you know what? I won a lot of fights in jail, but you know what? I did get beat up. I've been jumped. I've been smashed. You know what I'm saying? But I always stood my ground. I always held my own. You know what I mean? I always fought. That's the thing. I didn't care if there was 20 bloods rushing me in the cell. I'm gonna still stand there and fight. I'm gonna do my best to go back into the corner of the cell where people can't get behind me, and just go from there. Dudes are fucking trying to get up over the other dudes to try to get a lick in, but they can't, you know? So you just gotta be smart, you gotta be tactical, and you gotta know how to make your own weapons. So if you wanna know a little bit more about stuff like that, check out my channel. I got lots of information on the channel how to take care of yourself while you're in a Toronto prison or a Toronto jail. And a lot of this stuff can be used also in the US. A lot of this stuff is the jails run differently, but a lot of this stuff is more or less survival mechanisms, stuff like that. I got some real cool recipes. I got a whole bunch of interviews from dudes all over the U.S. So basically, later on, I start a YouTube channel. But we're gonna rewind right back to where I was at the Toronto Youth Assessment Center. So then I eventually get out of there and I go right back to where I was, selling, slanging my thing. I don't want to get too much into that, but just that went on for 5 years, off and on. Me doing that, going and doing like 20 months, coming out, going, doing a bit on the streets for a bit longer, maybe 2, 3 months. Sometimes I go in for like 10 months, come back out. It would be 2 for 1, so it would be 20 months. You go in, do 20 months, it would count as 40 months. So a lot of times I avoided going to the pen by doing my time that way, and it was called dead time. You would get 2 for 1. This was a big thing here in Ontario. Harper took it away when he went tough on crime. Ron Harper became the mayor or something, and he took it away. And that was really crazy, but now you only get, after your sentence, you got to do 2/3 of your time. And before, back in the day, if you did dead time, it was 2 for 1. That was better than 2/3, right? Now, if you got, say, 3 years, you would do two. You got 15 years, you would do 10. Well, the way we were doing it, if you got 10 years, you would do 5 dead time and then plead guilty, and they would put it as a 2 for 1 basis and get 10, right? Like Rikers Island. Just put it that way. We had super jails in Ontario uh, that people stay in for a long period of time. And the thing is, I know a lot of county jails don't run that way in the U.S., but Rikers Island does. There's been dudes in Rikers Island for like 10 years, so just look at it that way. It's that type of jails, not as bad as Rikers Island. I would say the Don jail is not as bad, but up there with Rikers Island. It was so bad it got closed down. I wouldn't say it's as bad as Rikers Island, but for Canada, I would say for jails, it's Canada's Rikers Island. Okay, it's haunted, it's bad, and I was there. My dad was there. A bunch of people in my family have been there. I don't want to sound like some criminal family, but like everyone went to the Don back in the day. When my dad was there, they didn't even have a toilet. Okay, so anyways, I keep drinking and doing stuff, going to parties, and I end up having a daughter in high school, real young. By the time I was 18, I had a daughter. Then I tried to like straighten out, try to like work and do renovations after my daughter was born. When she was like 6 months old, I like straightened out for a good like 2 years and raised my daughter on my own until she was like almost two. I did everything. I changed her, I wiped her, I bathed her, I taught her how to walk, talk, and eat. I dressed her. I would get her up, watch the cartoons, 2 p.m. Binu. You know, she had little Reeboks that were made by Reebok. Those were the coolest little shoes. I would dress her in Winnie the Pooh, Disney, everything Disney. Everything she loved was Winnie the Pooh and Dora the Explorer. So we're going to leave it at that. That's the first 5 chapters, or 3 to 5 chapters. The first 3 to 5, I'm going to have this in an audiobook. Obviously, not with all the little uh, stops and pauses and little like here here and there's, but the actual story is going to be there. And I'll just listen back to this, and then I'll know okay where I was at. So this is going to be titled chapter 1 to 5, or chapter. How about chapter 1 to 4? Because it's like not that much. Because we're stopping at when I was 18, and we still got a lot to go. We haven't even touched the woodwork yet. We still gotta go rewind a little bit for what happened in my teenage years. We didn't even get to uh, dig into that at all yet. So I'm going to leave the first video there, and just know that you have upcoming in the next chapters. Stay tuned because I end up going to jail 8 more times, spending significant amounts of time in there. The less amount of time was like 8 months. Okay, so just different things. Going to trial 14 months and on different little things. Okay, super jails, prisons, West detentions, everything. We're gonna get into it in the next one. Hope Hope you like this and enjoy. Smash, like, share, all that great stuff so we can get our stuff out there. We now have merch on the channel that I've designed myself, graphic merch. It can be for ladies or kids. Just tell me what you want. If I don't have it, I can make it. Trust me. What you want on it? Talking Time in the Six, YouTube, you know, biggest supporter, but it's got to have my name on it, the channel name, and then I can put a little something special on there if you want. Just let me know. Special order. All right. All right. Oh, also, we can now join with memberships. So help me out. Join the channel. It's like there's different levels of membership, gold, silver, gold, and like platinum. The basic one is cheap. You can go to the basic one. It's only like a few bucks. Check that one out. And yeah, so I can't think of anything else. So I'm just gonna say peace, and we'll see you in the next one. Wow.